Hello everybody. This is the letter I wrote to Isaac Fayose. Date February 13, 2026. Subject: refrain from mocking the Igbo race. Dear Mr. Isaac Fayose, I have watched the video of you, Isaac Fayose, mocking the Igbo on the social media because of chief priests and other hungry low-life Igbo billionaires that are parading themselves as City Boys movement. The purpose of this letter is to bring to your attention the deep-seated anger and frustration felt by the Igbo people, stemming from a long history of mockery, of which you, Fayose, have embarked on. Violence, marginalization and perceived injustice orchestrated by some Yoruba leaders against the Igbo race. Let us leave the so-called City Boys movement because that is not the main issues that is causing the Cold War between Yoruba and the Igbo race. The origin of the Igbo grievances and the Igbo problems started from Awolowo's 20 pounds policy and the diversion of all the money meant for reconstruction, rehabilitation, and reintegration of the Igbo people after the Civil War to the Nigerian system, which was implemented in Lagos instead of in the war-torn Igbo land. The MC Olomo threat to kill Igbo people during the 2023 election, which many Igbo people died from that threat. The Oba of Lagos threat to drown the Igbo in Lagos Lagoon in his palace. The Remi Tinubu threat to seize and demolish Igbo properties in Lagos. And the outcome of her threat is the ongoing burning and destruction of Igbo properties in Lagos. These are the major issues that we need to address. You, as a Fayose, have claimed that Sunday Igboho was released because the Yoruba leaders made it possible. Information reaching out to me was that his Sunday Igboho allegedly collected huge sums of money to end Oduduwa agitation. Meanwhile, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, on the other hand, chooses not to collect money after many promises were made to him by federal government. And that was why a Yoruba man named Omotosho gave him a life imprisonment to please his British and the North paymasters. If the Yoruba leaders were this powerful, why didn't they do something when the North annulled the June 12 and killed Abiola? I feel your pain watching Tinubu pumping huge sums of money to people like Chief Priest, Obi Kubano, Zenko, CNAG and other Igbo selfish billionaires. These people are individuals and they are free to support whoever they wish. As some educated Yoruba sons and daughters, like people like Tunde Ednor and co, are supporting Peter Obi, Chief Priest, Obi Kubana, Zenko, CNAG and other Igbo selfish billionaires, including their followers, have only one vote, and they are free to sell their vote to the highest bidder. At the end of all these noises, everyone will face the reality of hardship, of no medical facilities, of bad road, of generator noise pollution, of high price of petrol and food. You must understand that these city boys are under duress. Their properties in Lagos are being threatened if they did not act like mad people or Tinubu boys. And you cannot support Tinubu or join APC if your hands are clean. It is imperative that we forget this city boys gang madness, because there is no difference between city boys movement, woke family, Rate group, and APC members, including some Muslim extremists. So let us forget about these mentally deranged groups and address the following Igbo grievances to prevent further escalation. The Igbo people have faced brutal attacks, including the 1966 pogrom, which claimed 8 million lives, and recent violence during the 2023 elections. These incidents have created a sense of insecurity and mistrust. The specific incidents that are contributing to Igbo anger include 1966 anti-Igbo pogrom, May to September, resulting in 8,000 to 30,000 deaths. Asaba massacre, October 1967. The psychological impact is that Delta people reject being Igbos. More than 1,000 Igbos, both men, women, and children, were killed. 1968, Otuocha Market massacre by the Nigerian government during the war plan. More than 1,000 women and children were killed. 1969, Ozo Abom Market massacre. More than 500 children and women killed. Economic blockade, orchestrated by Awolowo and some Yoruba leaders, which continues the policies. And these policies are still ongoing. And that was why Dr. L.S. Oti took the federal government to international court. 2016 Onitsha incident. More than 17 Igbo Biafra activists were killed during the 49th anniversary. 2017 Kaduna Declaration, where the North asked the Igbo to leave. The 2023 election violence attack on Igbo voters and politicians in Lagos, orchestrated by MC Olomo and groups, and many Igbo people were killed. On January 2023, Peter Obi's campaign convoy in Katsina were attacked. And on February 2023, another attack on Igbo voters in Lagos. On December 24th, Lagos Island fire. Igbo goods and properties were destroyed. On December 30th, Arena Market fire in Lagos. Igbo goods and properties were destroyed. On January 14th, Ajegunle Apapa explosion. Igbo goods and properties were destroyed. On January 20th, Computer Village fire. Igbo goods and properties were destroyed. On January 22, Ajegunle Complex fire. Igbo goods and properties were destroyed. On January 24th, 2026, Amuwo Dolphin fire. Igbo goods and property were destroyed. On January 16th, Oyimbo Market fire. Igbo goods and properties, including buildings, were destroyed. On January 5, 2026, a metal scrap facility owned by Igbo people, their goods and properties were destroyed. On January 1, 2026, Ikotu Market fire. Igbo goods and properties were destroyed. Oshodi Arena fire. Igbo goods and properties were destroyed. Great Nigeria Insurance building were destroyed. Igbo goods and properties were burnt down. The question I want to ask you, Isaac Fayose, is why fire only destroy Igbo properties in Lagos, as claimed by the Lagos state government, while avoiding the North and the Yoruba people's properties? The fire plans are quite very simple. Destroy Igbo goods with fire while the government law takes the properties. Then give Obi Kubana, chief priest, and other city boys gang money to campaign for Tinubu for their crime to be forgiven. I hope city boys are taking record of fire that are destroying Igbo properties in Lagos, because after the election, if Tinubu wins, fire will not know city boys' property. One thing is certain, city boys movement allegedly are a gang of Azaman, drug dealers, and internet fraudsters. So the system is blackmailing them into submission while using them to campaign for Tinubu re-election. The North are not destroying Igbo properties in their region like the Yoruba are destroying Igbo properties in Lagos. The Igbo want seaport in Igbo land to reduce Lagos congestion, but Yoruba leaders are fighting against it. The Igbo want international cargo airport in Abia State. The same Yoruba leaders are fighting against it. Why? Because everything the Yoruba have done to the Igbos have no consequences. But my message to the Yorubas are simple. Don't worry, we are coming. I'm only sorry for Igbo politicians that listen to empty promises. I ask Igbo politicians, apart from money you are getting to enrich yourself, what did the Igbo people collectively benefited from Tinubu government that made these low-life politicians and city boys gang to be making noise? One thing is certain, Tinubu will deal with city boys like Awolowo dealt with Igbo when he secures his second term. We urge some Yoruba leaders and their supporters to understand the Igbo perspective and work towards reconciliation. Provoking or attacking Igbo people, thinking nothing will happen, will only perpetuate a cycle of violence. Instead, we advocate for dialogue, mutual respect, and addressing historical grievances. Let us work together to build a country where all ethnic groups feel valued and secure. Thank you, and may God bless all of you. I remain Mr. Pind, the president of the Igbo nation in diaspora. Share this video to get to all Yoruba, and may God bless you as you share the video.